Hi, it's Liz, and we are at EMO's Creative Studio, where everything you create is beautiful because you created it. So today's video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a comfort blanket. Now this particular comfort blanket I made as a sample, and it's in miniature version. Comfort blankets can be used for your baby, or it can also be used for puppies. It's very soft, it's made out of fleece, and it's made also with color fast ribbon. When you use the ribbons, or when you purchase the ribbons, you want to make sure you get ribbons that will not, the color will not run. So this is the miniature version. The actual size of the human baby comfort blanket is 18 by 18, but I'll show you that in just a moment. Very easy, simple to make. It's 2 pieces of fleece, and you attach these ribbons, and you attach them firmly so that when the baby's playing with it or pulling it or it gets stuck somewhere, it doesn't get ripped out. Or when you give this to your fur babies, or if you make this, that you want to make these to give to your as a donation to your local humane society, when the dogs are pulling at this, these ribbons won't pull out. This is a great idea, whether for no matter who you want to make this for. So let's get started. For today's project, we are going to be using fleece, and I've cut 2 pieces of fleece 18 inches by 18 inches. That means it's a square piece of flannel, 2 pieces 18 inches squared. I also have 1, 2, 3, 4 different colors of ribbon, 4 pieces each at 6 inches long. I have one set that's a little bit thicker that I'm going to use for the corners, as I did in my sample. I'll put this to the side. And then I have 3 others that I'm going to put 3 on each side in between the big pieces of ribbon. So we need to figure out which side is the right side and which side is the wrong side. I think this is the right side. It looks brighter. Yes, it looks brighter. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to place my ribbons. Again, these ribbons, I cut 4 pieces at 6 inches long. You don't have to pink it at the ends because you're going to be sewing it. You are going to attach your ribbon in the corners. So what you're doing right here, let's see if I can get this to look a little bit better for you. Right here, you're attaching it at the corner. Let me show you. I'm matching the edges to the edges of the corner. See, just like this. One of the few times that I will use a pin, I will secure it. The ends of the ribbon go to the outer edges of the corners. The folded edge goes towards the center of your fabric. Let me show this to you again. Take a piece of the 6-inch ribbon, fold it in half, measure it the best way you can, you eyeball it to the corner right here like this, put it down, and place a pin towards the top. You don't want to get your pin stuck as you're sewing on the machine. You're going to do this for all 4 corners. Fold your ribbon in half, diagonally match it up. You see right here, match it up. Take a pin and pin it as close to the upper edge as possible, because you don't want to put that sewing machine needle on that pin. And now we are working on the last corner. Match it up. like this. Place your pin towards the top. And now you've got all 4 corners completed. There you go, just like that. So now I've got white, blue, and orange that I want to place onto my piece of fleece. So I'm going to start with blue, white, orange, and then I'm going to toss it up a little, white, orange, blue. I don't want to match anything, so I'm going to do white, blue, orange, like this. I'm just placing it down. I'm not putting anything in place. Blue, white. So you can measure, you can take your ruler, you can measure, or you can use your grid. Let me pull this up a little so you can see better. And if you want to be exact, you can measure, from the tip to the tip here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So every 3 boxes you could put 1. Here's a third, and here's a third. So you could do it like this. So again, you're going to fold your ribbon in half. I'm going to put it at the edge of the ribbon to the edge of your flannel fleece. Sorry, I get those 2 F words confused. Sorry. Fold this ribbon in half. Again, you're going to pin it to the edge of your fabric. And let me show you this other one. Go ahead and pin it. And now I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to pin the other ones. And I'll come right back to you. I now have all 4 edges pinned. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to the machine. And I'm going to sew it a 1/4 inch seam allowance to secure these ribbons before I put both pieces together. So let's go to the machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this in place. Again, I am using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and what I'm going to do is quick stitch here, and when I get to the ribbons I'm going to back stitch, because again we want to secure these ribbons in place so that they're not yanked out when they're being tugged on. Again, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now when we get to the corner here, we're going to be very careful. Oop, this is not quite where it's supposed to be. Put this up here. Alright, now it is. And I'm actually going to sew almost all the way off, back, and then I'm going to stop at the delineation where it tells me that I need to make my pivot for my 1/4 inch. Almost every machine has this line right here that tells you 1/4 inch. Alright, so I've made my pivot. I'm going to turn, back stitch, because I want to make sure this ribbon stays in place. Plus, you're going to see what it's going to, when you turn it inside out, you're going to see how it makes a very cute angle. Almost at the next corner. want to make sure I don't go beyond the 1/4 inch, so that when I make my pivot, I'm still making a 1/4 inch seam allowance, back stitch, and we back stitch, back stitch, back stitch. Now when you're doing this stitching is not going to show through, because when you put your two sides together, you're going to be making it a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So you don't really have to worry about how this is going to look if your back stitching is a little off, like it is right there for me. If you notice, I still have my walking foot on because I'm still working on Christmas projects, and the items that I'm working on, I need to have the walking foot because of the thickness of whatever I'm working on. And yes, after the first of the year or after the holidays, once all my items have been gifted, I will be making tutorials on the items that I've made. And I'm sorry to make it like secretive or a mystery, but a few people that are getting gifts actually watch these videos, and I want their gifts to be surprised. All right, we're at the end. Back stitch a couple of stitches, and we pull it out, cut it at the thread, and I'm going to put my presser foot down because I don't want to lose my thread. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my pins out. And you will see that it is starting to take shape here. Like I said, this is very quick and easy. This is a wonderful, inexpensive item to make. Like I said, if you want to donate little blankets for the puppies and the kittens at the Humane Society, this would be a great idea. Gives them something to play with. All right, let's move over to the cutting table, and I'll show you what we're going to do. So with this comfort blanket, the most important thing you want to remember is to keep these loops rounded. You don't want to iron them. So when you're ironing, you got to be careful that you only iron up to this point and not put a crease in it. Then you lose the roundness of your ribbons. So the next part that we're going to do is we're going to put right sides together, and it really doesn't matter, even though it looks like the airplanes, helicopters are all in different directions. So you're going to put right sides together. I think I have the right side. Yeah, yes. So right sides together, match up all the edges as best as you can. Now, yes, I'm going to pin this. One of the few times that I use pins, but I want to make sure that none of my ribbons are folded over, meaning that they're folded back upon themselves, so that when you're sewing, you don't sew it to the inside like this or fold it in half like that. So looks like I've got everything in place. Go ahead and throw some pins in very quickly. Now, when I'm sewing this, I want to make sure that I have a spot open, which I'm making right here, from here to here, from here to here, so that I could stick my hand through and pull it out. Otherwise, I'm going to carefully pin it to make sure that I don't lose any of my ribbons while I'm sewing. Again, when I'm sewing this, I'm going to give it a 1/2 inch seam allowance. 1/2 inch seam allowance. It will allow me to catch everything that I'm supposed to. All right, let me continue pinning, and the next Next step is, now we have it set up at our machine. Remember, we're going to leave a space so that we could stick our hand into the bag and pull it all out. So we're going to start just above one of the ribbons. We're using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. 1/2 inch seam allowance, sorry. And we're going to start sewing. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to reinforce everything. Now I have a little bit of extra fabric hanging out over here, so it's going to be a little bit beyond the 1/2 inch, but it will match up. You'll see in just a minute. Yeah, there you go. All right. Now it came up to the 1/2 inch. We'll turn it. And again, we've got a little bit of extra fabric hanging over on this side, so now it's at a 1/2 inch. And when we're done, we'll clean it up so that there isn't extra edges before we turn it around. Again, there's extra edge over here because the fabric was cut a little bit bigger than 18 inches. So we're just watching. And you probably can't see what I'm doing on the video, I'm sorry. Done sewing. We're almost towards the end. We're at a 1/2 inch with the bottom piece that has the ribbons on it. Okay, so let me show you what we're going to do. I want to reinforce this. So I'm going to go ahead, instead of back stitching it, I'm just going to rotate my fabric around. I'm going to pull my needles out so that I'm not poking myself as I'm sewing. Or my pins, I should say, not needles. And I'm going to sew on top of the stitching that I just did. Now, in the center right here is where I see my stitching. I'm going to go slow and stitch on top of the stitching that I just did, because I want to reinforce to make sure that when this is tugged or pulled at, it doesn't fall apart or pull apart. Right there, let's pivot. And let me pull out the rest of the pins so I'm not poking myself, which I am prone to do when I'm using a lot of pins like this. Let's keep on pulling. Okay, I think I got all the pins. Let me move my pin cushion over. And let's continue sewing. As you can see, this is a very easy project to put together. It's a very nice project to put together. And if you're looking to make something for a baby shower gift that's quick, simple, easy, something that you've handmade or put together with love, this is a very easy, especially for somebody who's new at sewing. All you're doing is making straight stitches. You're not doing any elaborate stitching. You're not making designs. You're just picking a really cute, adorable fleece fabric. And this fleece fabric can go either way, boy or girl. It's not pink or blue. It's got all the colors in it, all the primary colors in it. And somebody, you know, especially these younger parents want their children, you know, boys play with dolls, girls play with trucks. There's nothing wrong with that. This is a great, this was a great selection for me to pick. Kind of messing up a little because the thread is kind of hard for me to see with this yellow fabric and all the light bouncing off of it. I'm hoping that I'm getting it on top. It looks like I'm just off by a stitch or two either way. When I made the mini sample, it was easier for me to do because I did it on the dark blue. And I was able to see where the stitch line was. Well, I'm on my last side. Again, we're not going to sew all the way to the end because we need an opening so we can stick our hand through to pull it inside out. Let's get this thread out of the way. Back stitch. Pull up our needle. Pull our project out. Oops, just broke the thread. Okay, let's move over to the table. So what I want to do is I want to cut off all this extra fabric that's from the additional or the other piece that I put on to sew together. And on this side you're going to see 2 lines of stitching. And the reason you're seeing 2 lines of stitching is, remember, we put our ribbon on and we wanted to secure it, so you're seeing that line. And let's see, now we're going to cut the corners. Just going to turn it around and we clip the corners so that we can have a nice corner, even though it's not going to really be a corner. You'll see what I'm talking about as we turn it inside out, but you still don't want to have bulk there. So let me clip this corner. Let me clip the strings, especially since we back stitched on it. Let's get rid of all this garbage before I send it all over the room. All right, now we're ready to pull it through. Stick your hand in, grab it, and then you just pull it. Pull it, pull it, pull it, pull it. Now, instead of having a corner that's pointy, you're going to have an angled corner. You see right here, a nice angled corner. You just pull, just tug on it just a bit. A nice angled corner. A nice angled corner. A nice angled corner. Next step is to go to the ironing board and iron. Make sure you don't iron the ribbons to put a crease in it. I am going to put some glue down on this to hold my open edge closed. I'm just going to go ahead and quickly put some of this down so it holds the edges together. And then I'm going to go to my iron and iron this down, and I'll come right back to you. I'm ready now to do the final step, which is a nice 1/4 inch top stitch. I'm going to show you how I do the corners. I'll do 1, 2 corners. I'll finish it off and then I'll meet you at the cutting mat when I'm done. Start off, back stitch a couple stitches. And we're sewing. We don't have to reinforce or top back stitch on the ribbons because this is the third or fourth time that we're sewing over this ribbon. So we are coming up to a corner. We're going to slowly come up. This corner right here is I'm going to stop at the 1/4 inch mark. Lift. Oh, not enough. Lift. Turn. And since my presser foot is a 1/4 inch in length, width, the fabric is going to follow the edge of my foot. I should stop here. Pivot. I'm going to go across. I'm going to stitch all the way down. Coming up to another corner. Slow it up a little bit. Stop. Pivot. Stop. Wait, I need one more stitch. Stop and pivot. Again, this is a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Coming to the edge. Lift, pivot, lift, pivot. All right, I'm going to finish this off and I'll meet you at the cutting. And here we are. We have our finished project. 18 inches squared with ribbons, and you notice that I didn't put any folds into my ribbons. Great, the ribbons are secured very tightly. It's been sewn 4, 5, 6 different times. Really came out adorable. A good 15-20 minutes to make this, and you've got yourself a really adorable little comfort blanket for a baby shower gift. Or if you have a fur baby, you can make a little one. I think this one is 10 by 10. Really cute. Baxter's got a new blanket. So, my name is Liz. We are at EMO's Creative Studio, where anything you make is beautiful because you created it. Like, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell that's I think on this side. If you click on the bell, you'll get notifications of my videos. Until the next time, happy sewing, happy quilting. Take care. Bye.